The Amex Trifecta is one of those credit card setups that hardly needs an introduction just because of all the content that's been made about it out there. However, I personally think there's still a lot that needs to be discussed about this setup. So in today's video, we're going to cover one, if not the most premium credit card setups in existence. And honestly, this might shock you, but I think it is a setup that a lot of people waste a lot of money on. I know what I just said are some fighting words, but if you just listen to me throughout this video, I think you'll kind of understand where I'm coming from. What we're going to do today, though, is break this video down into a few main parts. First of all, of course, I'm going to break down each one of the cards that composes the Amex Trifecta, that being the Amex Blue Business Plus, Amex Gold, and Amex Platinum cards. After that, we're going to cover what makes this setup so good and how you can personally get a lot of value from it. And then lastly, we'll talk about why this setup is not for everybody, despite what the internet might tell you. It's also probably smart for me to address the elephant in the room, or I guess in the backyard, that of course being my filming setup right now. And if you hear the bugs in the background and the lighting's not very good and all that stuff, just, bear with me please, because I did move out of my house this past weekend and I'm helping my girlfriend right now since she just had surgery. So I'm kind of just making whatever I can work. So I still hope y'all enjoy this nonetheless. But without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this video off with part one, that being the card breakdowns. And I think pretty naturally, I want to start with the card that is the cheapest out of this whole entire setup, or actually free in this case, that being the Amex Blue Business Plus. Right off the bat, I'm gonna have to say that yes, this is a business credit card, but yes, you probably do qualify for it. As I've talked about in a ton of my videos already, almost anybody can qualify for a business credit card, and the way you do that is by applying as a sole proprietor, and on the application you'll list your expected revenue for your business and get cards just like the Amex Blue Business Plus for your business expenses. To save time, I'd recommend going and checking out my other business credit card videos if you want to know more about the details of business credit cards in general. But the fact of the matter is that, really anybody can get approved for this credit card if they have any kind of income outside of their 9-to-5 job. The Amex Blue Business Plus is going to be your catch-all card in the Amex Trifecta. The reason it serves that role is because it's a card that gives you a flat 2x back on every single one of your purchases, up to your first $50,000 worth of spend on this card. After that, it drops down to 1x back, but you're getting 2x back for quite a while. It really is a simple card similar to any other 2% cashback credit card on the market, but the powerful thing about this one in particular is that it actually earns Amex membership rewards points and not just cashback. The reason that's so important is because Amex membership rewards points are worth much more than 1 cent per point, which is the general redemption rate for cashback, if you know how to use those Amex points in the right way, which we'll talk about later in this video. Another really powerful thing about this card that I feel like isn't touched on enough is the fact that it's one of Amex's only membership reward point earning cards that has no annual fee. The reason that's so underrated for this setup in particular is because the other two cards that we'll be talking about later are two of Amex's charge cards that have no good downgrade path to a no annual fee card. So if you did end up wanting to cancel those cards in the future, but you didn't have a no annual fee membership reward point earning card like the Blue Business Plus, then all those Amex points that you have would basically just be lost. But with this card in particular, you can actually keep your membership reward point balance alive with a card with no annual fee, and you can still actually transfer those points out to travel partners, as we'll discuss later. The one gripe I do have with Amex and this card right now is that Amex actually just took away the welcome offer on this card. Before even just a few weeks ago, this was another major pull to this credit card in particular as a 2% back card. Although the welcome offers on this card weren't anything insane by any means, it was just another really simple way to accumulate more Amex membership rewards points. But with how weird Amex is being lately, they, for whatever reason, decided to pull the welcome offer from this card, making this card less powerful than it used to be. However, to be honest, I would not be surprised if we see that welcome offer come back over time, so if you're watching this at a later date, you still might have good chances of getting welcome offer. Card number 2 out of the Amex Trifecta is going to be the very well-known Amex Gold card. For starters, this card does come with an annual fee, and it's a pretty hefty annual fee of $250 a year. Now, I know that may be a little bit too much to stomach for a lot of people, but at the same time, as with most every annual fee credit card out there, this card is going to give you multiple ways to recoup that annual fee every year. The first way to do so is going to be through the welcome offer that comes on this card. To be honest, it's usually pretty easy to find a really high welcome offer on this card if you just do a bit of digging. And the reason I say that is because if you don't do a bit of digging and you just pick the public welcome offer that's on Amex's website, you're going to get a pretty low offer compared to what other people are getting. Amex card welcome offers are ones that you need to do your research on before applying for a card, because there are so many different methods you can use to try to get the highest welcome offer possible. In general though, using somebody's referral link in an incognito browser is going to be the best way to find the highest public welcome offer, but I've also made a full video about all the different methods you can use to try to get that highest offer, so if you want to watch that video after this one, feel free to do so. But the reason I'm harping on this so much is because of Amex's dreaded once-in-a-lifetime welcome offer rule. And don't worry, I'll discuss this a little bit more later, but I think you can kind of deduce what it is from the name. But going back to this bonus in particular, I just want to give you some reference for what kind of welcome offers you could possibly find on this card. Speaking from personal personal experience, I actually applied for this card when it had a 90,000 Amex membership reward point welcome offer after spending $4,000 in the first 6 months of having it. Plus, it came with 20% back as a statement credit on up to $250 worth of rewards on restaurant purchases for the first year of having the card. With the points guys valuation of Amex membership rewards points being worth 2 cents per point, that welcome offer was worth roughly $2,050, but at the time, the only offer listed on Amex's website was for 60,000 points, and if I would have taken that offer instead, I would have missed out on $850 by just not clicking the other link that I found online. I know I just harped on welcome offers for a while, but to be honest with you, welcome offers are going to be one of the biggest ways you get any kind of value from your credit cards. But with that being said, we still want to get positive value from our cards every single year after the first year of getting that welcome bonus. So how are we going to do that with this card? Of course, the first way we're going to do that is through this card's earning categories. What this card gives you is 4x back at restaurants, including US takeout and delivery, 4x back on US supermarkets up to $25,000 a year, 3x back on flights booked directly with airlines or through Amex's travel portal, and 1x back on all other eligible purchases. So those earning categories are what make this card in particular a workhorse card for a lot of people's setups who have this card. Using it as a dedicated food card makes it really hard to beat in that category, especially when you consider the fact that if every Amex membership reward point is worth 2 cents per point, then instead of earning just 4x back on these categories, you're actually earning 8% back on those food categories. Also, that 3x category is honestly kind of underrated because a lot of times with travel credit cards, you're not usually able to get any kind of elevated rewards when actually booking flights directly through an airline. But with this card, of course you can. Earning categories, of course, are great, but that doesn't exactly justify the annual fee alone. But luckily for you, this card comes with 2 main credits that basically completely offset this annual fee. The first credit is a $10 monthly statement credit for dining purchases at select locations, those being Grubhub, the Cheesecake Factory, Goldbelly, Wine.com, Milk Bar, and select Shake Shack locations. Of course, $10 per month times 12 months is $120 back that you could get from this card every single year, but emphasis on the could there. The second credit is another $10 monthly credit, but this time for Uber Cash. And this Uber Cash can be used for Uber Eats or Uber Rides in the US up to $120 a year. However, this credit does act differently than the dining statement credit does. Instead of this one being a statement credit, you literally get $10 deposited to your Uber Cash account every single month. However, neither of these credits roll over from month to month, so you either got to use them or lose them. But the fact of the matter is that if you do use both of these credits every single month, which may be unlikely, you'll earn back $240 from this card, leaving you with an effective $10 annual fee. Before we get into card number 3, I wanted to take some time to first of all get some AC, of course, but also I want to tell y'all about my preferred way of keeping track of all of my credit cards, because once we get into card number 3, this is going to become really important with all the different credits and benefits it comes with. I do want to note that Max Rewards is a sponsor of my channel, but I have been using their app since before they were a sponsor, and I have found a lot of value in them despite any flaws that they may have. What Max Rewards is an app that allows you to pool all of your different credit card information, even if those credit cards come from multiple lenders, into one convenient app. So this is the app that I use to tell me my total card balances, point balances, bill due dates, and much more. What's especially important for a credit card setup like this, where we'll have multiple credit cards in circulation, is that the app tells you, once again, when your credit card bills are due. On top of that, when having multiple credit cards, it's important to know which card to use depending on what location you're shopping in, and Max Rewards has a feature that tells you exactly what card to use depending on your exact location, as well as a location that you can search for in the future. Max Rewards also has a paid tier called Max Rewards Gold that not only automatically activates your quarterly rotating categories for you on your cards like your Chase Freedom Flex, but they will also automatically activate your credit card offers for you. This is actually an even more powerful feature than what meets the eye with Amex credit cards in particular, because they actually activate hidden offers that you can't even see in your Amex app, which is pretty awesome. If you're interested in just trying out the free features of this app, please be sure to click the link down in my description to sign up for the app. And whenever you're going through that sign up process, you can use my code Spencer to give you 1 free month of Max Rewards Gold. Thank you to Max Rewards for sponsoring this video, but now I think it's time to get into that card number 3 that really is the powerhouse of this whole setup. Card number 3 of the Amex Trifecta is, of course, the very famous Amex Platinum card. Now, before you get too excited, let's just take a step into reality here and realize that this credit card is not for everybody. And honestly, you'll probably get nowhere near the actual value that Amex might market this card as giving you. Now, this is really important to realize because this credit card has an annual fee of $695. But of course, as always, we do have ways to recoup that. First of all, this card's welcome offer is going to be one, if not the biggest welcome offer you ever get on a credit credit card unless you start going into the business credit cards. But the base welcome offer right now on Amex's website is only for 80,000 points after spending $6,000 in the first 6 months of having it. As I stated previously, we don't actually care about this public welcome offer because we know there are better ways to get higher welcome offers on Amex's credit cards. Just recently, Amex actually had an offer on this card for 150,000 Amex membership rewards points after spending the same $6,000 in 6 months, plus $200 worth of statement credits for literally just spending on anything in the first 3 months of having this card. That's an insane welcome offer worth $3,200 with the points guy's valuation of Amex membership rewards points, and it would yield you $1,600 more than if you were to just take the public welcome offer on Amex's website. I actually was trying to pick up this card with this welcome offer myself a couple months ago before I realized that Amex threw me in their pop-up jail. If you don't know about pop-up jail, don't worry, we'll talk about it more later, but this is one of the most annoying things about Amex as a lender. The welcome bonus alone on this card could make it well worth the annual fee, at least for, a few years. But again, we want to understand how to get value from this card every single year without having to worry about the welcome bonus. And the way we do that is, again, two different ways: the earning categories as well as the credits and benefits. So to start with the earning categories, this card is going to give you 5x back on airfare booked directly with the airline or through Amex's travel portal, up to $500,000 on those purchases per calendar year, 5x back on prepaid hotels when booked through Amex's travel portal, and 1x back on everything else. As you can tell, this card is not an earner for anything other than travel, really. So if you do see somebody get this card and then use it for every single one of their purchases, you can kind of just sit back and laugh and know that they don't really know what they're doing in the credit card game. But with that being said, of course, the earning categories aren't really going to help us knock down that effective annual fee, so we're going to have to do that with credits and benefits once again. I'll start out by saying that technically, yes, this card does give you more than $1,500 worth of credits that you could use to offset that annual fee every year, but I would assume that almost none of you are going to get that full amount of value that they might promise. Instead of going through each of these credits in depth, I'm just going to do a speed run here because I have made a full video about the Platinum card very recently and how you can get value from all these credits and stuff, so you can watch that video again after this one if you want to. But those credits include a $200 airline fee credit, a $200 hotel credit, $200 worth of Uber credits, a $189 clear credit, a $100 global entry or TSA pre-check credit, $240 worth of digital entertainment credits, a $155 Walmart Plus credit, a $100 Saks Fifth Avenue credit, and a $300 Equinox credit. On top of that, this card's also going to give you access to basically every single lounge in the world, it feels like, thanks to American Express's Global Lounge Collection. Plus, it gives you complimentary Marriott Bonvoy Gold Elite status and Hilton Honors Gold status, as well as access to Amex's Fine Hotels and Resorts collection, which is one of the most powerful perks about this card, according to people that have had it and told me how much they like that perk. As you can tell, this card has so much to offer you, but I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to actually sit down and do the math on the credits that you would have bought before actually getting this card to see what your effective annual fee is for holding it every year. Now that we've covered each of these credit cards individually at a high level, it's time to talk about how this setup is so powerful when you combine all those cards together. I think we got to start by going back to something I told you I would tell you about later in the video, that being the valuation of Amex membership rewards points. As I've noted, the points guy values Amex membership rewards points at 2 cents per point. And that's a common number that's regurgitated by people, even myself, but in reality, the only way to get that kind of value is by transferring your Amex points out to their travel partners. Amex has a list of about 20 or so travel partners that you can practically convert your Amex membership rewards points directly to another point ecosystem. For example, if you're a fan of British Airways, Amex has British Airways as a transfer partner, so that means you can take your Amex membership rewards points and transfer them directly into Avios. The reason this is so important and how it gives you so much value is because let's say that you wanted to book a business class flight that would cost you $3,000 in cash. If instead you only had to spend 60,000 Avios to get that same flight, then those 60,000 Avios, which were Amex membership rewards points, are technically worth 5 cents per point, which blows that 2 cent per point valuation out of the water. However, to be fair, to get valuations like that, you do usually have to be booking pretty expensive fares. In reality though, it just completely depends on the booking, so you have to do the math every single time you go to do a booking yourself. So with that being said, you hopefully can tell at this point, but this setup is definitely more tailored for people that are on team travel. Because unless you have the Charles Schwab version of the Platinum card, then you're never going to want to redeem your Amex points for cash back. I say that because Amex points are only worth 0.6 cents per point in cashback form unless you have the Charles Schwab Platinum, which allows you to directly redeem your points for 1.1 cents per point through your Charles Schwab brokerage account. But then again, if you are somebody that is on team travel and that's what you use your points for, then it's going to be really hard for you to find a better travel credit card than the Amex Platinum card. And by better, I mean a card that gives you more upside value than the Platinum card does. Another way this setup is so powerful for travelers is because both the Amex Gold and Amex Platinum cards have no foreign transaction fees. However, as y'all probably know, there's more than meets the eye to that, so we'll cover that more in part 3 here in a second. On top of all the benefits I just mentioned, there's one thing that's both a pro and a con of this credit card setup, specifically with the Amex Gold and Platinum cards, and that is the fact that they're actually charge cards and not credit cards. Part of me wanted to bring this up because I know there's going to be a few trolls in the comments that try to correct me every time I called one of those cards a credit card, but at the same time, this is a pro for these cards because they actually don't report your credit utilization to the credit bureaus. They will report your on-time payments and your balances and stuff like that, but they don't report your credit utilization, which makes these cards really solid if you ever need to actually put a large purchase on one of your credit cards and don't have the credit limit for it, or just use these cards super frequently. At the same time, it is a con because it doesn't report that credit utilization to the bureaus, and if you're somebody that barely ever uses these cards and wants to try to keep a low utilization to raise your credit score, you're not exactly going to be rewarded for that on these cards. Also, I want to note that I actually didn't go in depth about any of the, added travel or other retail protections that these cards have, and they do have some really solid protections. So if these sound up your alley, then I would recommend you go do some more research on those smaller details. Before we jump into the cons of this credit card setup, I do want to note that a really subtle thing that I really like about Amex's ecosystem in general is the fact that your points all pool into one Amex membership reward point account, so you don't ever have to transfer from one card to another to make sure you have enough points for your booking. It's just all in one account, and you can transfer out with your no annual fee card, the Amex Blue Business Plus in this case, which just makes the ecosystem really strong. Now that was a lot of pros about these cards, but I think it's time we talk about why this card setup is not for everybody. To start, these cards do cover a pretty wide range of categories that you probably spend in every day. But then again, they also have some really big gaps in them, especially when it comes to gas and entertainment, for example. These days, you can find a lot of no annual fee cards that cover those, plus all the categories that these cards cover at least a 3x rate. So the fact that you're paying a total of $945 for these cards every single year may lead you to believe that you should have better earning categories than these cards currently give you. Speaking of that annual cost, another big reason I don't recommend this card setup to everybody is because it's super expensive. Most other trifectas or duos that I've covered on my channel so far have a maximum cost of like $395 with the Capital One Duo. But heck, you can build an arguably even better setup than the Amex Trifecta or the Capital One Duo with Chase or Citi's Trifectas that both only cost $95 a year. That's why to me, this setup is a little bit overhyped in a sense. I definitely don't want you to think that I'm saying that this setup is bad by any means. As I just said in part 2, this setup is arguably the best travel credit card setup for avid travelers, but I still feel like that's a really hefty price at the end of the day. Both the Gold and Platinum cards come with really hefty annual fees, and while they are technically easily justifiable with the credits that come on those cards, those credits themselves are honestly pretty annoying to use, especially because a lot of them are monthly credits. I mean, if we're being honest here, monthly credits kind of suck. To avoid harping on that for too long, another reason this setup is not necessarily something I recommend to everybody is because it's actually a pretty bad international travel setup. I mean, I'm assuming that if you have a card like the Platinum card, you're likely traveling at least pretty frequently internationally, and considering Amex cards are not really well accepted in many other countries outside of the US, that would make these cards dead weight in your wallet while you're not at home. And again, if you're paying $945 a year, I would kind of like to be able to use those cards wherever I want to. On a bit of a different topic, I want to go back to what I was talking about earlier in the video and discuss Amex's once-in-a-lifetime welcome offer rule. I really just bring it up again to point out that, for the people that might have already added this setup to their wallets and also only applied for the public welcome offers, this rule really sucks. Granted, a lifetime with Amex might mean only 7 to 10 years, with all the data points that we found out there. But then again, if you missed out on thousands of dollars worth of free travel because you just didn't use the right link, that could be really annoying. Then again though, you may never even get the chance to get a really high welcome offer on these cards if Amex decides to throw you in pop-up jail. And right now, pop-up jail is even more annoying than ever considering how many people they're putting in it. What Amex pop-up jail is basically whenever you go to apply for a card, you might get a window that pops up on your screen telling you that you are not eligible for the welcome offer on that card. For anybody that's got one of those, you know how bad that hurts because even if you do, technically qualify for that card, they might not give you the welcome offer. And I've seen people that accidentally click through that screen anyways just to, see their approval notice, but then realize that they didn't get the welcome offer, and that also really sucks. So overall, as you can hopefully tell, I wanted to give you a balanced view of this credit card setup because on one hand, it is probably the best credit card setup out there for the avid traveler who knows how to use these cards. However, it's definitely not for everybody, and I think a lot of people get this because of the hype and then actually don't get any value from the setup at all. And that even goes for the people that think they might get value from it but haven't actually done the math behind it to see what their effective annual fees really are. At the same time though, if this setup in particular is not exactly what you're looking for, I think that this playlist that I've been adding a lot to lately should give you at least one good setup out there that you could take away and use in your everyday life to get a ton of value from. As always, Odin, who is not here today, Jose and I both want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.